So, to kick it off, I'm going to read a quote from, of all people, Kurt Vonnegut, from a book, A Man Without a Country. If you want to really hurt your parents, and you don't have the nerve to be gay, the least you can do is go into the arts. I'm not kidding. The arts are not a way to make a living. They are a very human way of making life more bearable. Practicing an art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow, for heaven's sake. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something. And so for those of you who want to share, open mic.
It's by some unknown, and this is it. I might not need this. My teacher took my iPod. She said they had a rule. I couldn't bring it into class or even to the school. She said she would return it. I'd have it back that day. But then she tried my headphones on and gave a click on play. She looked a little startled, but after just a while, she made sure we were occupied and cracked a wicked smile. Her body started swaying, her toes began to tap. She started grooving in her seat and rocking to the rap. My teacher said she changed her mind. She thinks it's now okay to bring my iPod into class. She takes it away every day.
Hello? Okay. So, this is a poem dedicated from Miss Ohm to Dr. Carey. And I'm just going to say, after a day of trying to figure out what your favorite Walt Whitman poem was, let's just say it was hard. It involved spying from Andy Chang, and it just... Yeah. So you were aware of that. So it was just very hard to figure it out, so...
I was wondering why he was asking me all day what it was. Okay.
It was definitely hard, so we decided to go with "Oh Captain, My Captain." Shout out to the Dead Poets Society. Okay. Oh Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes in the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But oh heart, 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 oh the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, falling cold and dead. O Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for your flag is flung, for you the bugle trails. For you the bouquets and the ribboned reefs, for you the shores are crowding. For you they call the swaying masses, their eager their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear father, this arm is beneath your head. It is some dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead. My captain does not answer. His lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm. He has no pulse nor will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip the victor ship comes in with objects won. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells, but I with mournful tread walk the deck with my captain lies, falling cold and dead. Shout out to Mr. Carey. I've heard about your Lord of the Rings class, and I'm ashamed that I've never been able to take it. I love the Lord of the Rings, and we wish you the best on your retirement.
Well, thank you. This is a poem by Sharon Olds, and it's called Rite of Passage. It's about our son's birthday party. As the guests arrive at my son's party, they gather in the living room. Short men, men in first grade, with smooth jaws and chins. Hands in pockets, they stand around, jostling, jockeying for place, small fights breaking out and calming. One says to another, "How old are you?" 6. "I'm 7. So?" They eye each other, seeing themselves tiny in the other's pupils. They clear their throats a lot, a room of small bankers. They fold their arms and frown. I could beat you up, a 7 says to a 6. The dark cake round and heavy as a turret behind them on the table. My son, freckles like specks of nutmeg on his cheeks, chest narrow as the balsa keel of a model boat, long hands cool and thin as the day they guided him out of me, speaks up as a host for the sake of the group. We could easily kill a 2-year-old, he says in his clear voice. The other men agree. They clear their throats like generals. They relax and get down to playing war, celebrating my son's life.
Okay, just a little bit about this poem. It's a poem about where I'm from. It's about the city of Hong Kong. It really reflects the true color of Hong Kong, and it has a lot of history. And the poem is called "When Hong Kong is a Woman." Last day, younger than Shanghai, the lady, the city breathes a woman's sophistication. When Hong Kong is a woman, she stands in emancipation, fans her lashes, highlights her lines, clasping her silver handbag under a coat of gray, dismantles an entire truth. Hong Kong, a woman of contrast, the district flash with a compressed rhythm, the pathways unravel time's passing. A glowing fuse, the ladies are reveries from Wonderlist. Her contenders trails into her heart, the sun sets. Approaching night's fall, and she undoes her hair, allowing it pause along the journey. Hong Kong whispers a quiet melancholy, echoing a delicate magnetism. She plays the mirage of a seductive glance. From her vertical frames, she mesmerizes guests through a gateway to her motherland. The voyager vanishes embraced by the labyrinth. Until dawnbreak, she is a charmer, a keeper, a romantic in hiding. Miss Hong Kong holds my eternal fascination.
I wrote this last year during the Day of Silence, and that day was actually the first poetry night, and I was gonna read it then, but I didn't. Because it's slam poetry, I picture myself like saying it and like having it memorized, but I don't. This is like the second time I've read it in like a year. So here it goes. It was a Sunday morning when you forfeited your virginity, and you cried into the pillow to muffle the sounds of your sorrows, because you were raised to savor these milestones, your first love, your first kiss, your first fuck, but instead you lay in semen-stained sheets, knowing that all these moments have been a lie, and you allow your hymen to break instead of your silence. The streaks of mascara that dripped down your cheeks painted little charcoal raindrops on the fabric that you are still being suffocated by. You never knew that the tarnish that besmirched the bedding would leave a greater mark than that boy lying next to you ever would. Your final thoughts before falling asleep in his arms were about how great it would be to receive a golden wedding ring, not from him, but from a girl. Flash forward to 500 fucks later. That boy planted next to you might be your lover, but he is not the person that you love. Yet you continue to sleep with him and remain voiceless because you are afraid. Because on the first day of chemistry, while you were busy staring at your lab partner's breasts, you learned that opposite atoms attract to form a bond, and that humans are made up of these atoms. Therefore, you did not want to be a flaw in the system of science. So instead of attempting to bond, you stayed wordless. And only in your dreams you could run your fingers through the golden locks of your lab partner's hair. Every time your facade of a sweetheart touches you, you shy away, because he is not a she. You are not a lock, and that boy is not a key to free you from how you feel or who you are. Nobody ever told you that it is okay to love who you want, so you don't. You feel like you don't have the right to love, but that could be changed by choosing to speak out. 5 simple words. This isn't who I am. 4 simple words. I'm tired of pretending. 3 simple words. It's my life. 2 simple words. I'm gay. 1 simple word. Love. But you do not think that the sound of your voice is the voice to carry these statements. You'd rather choke on your boyfriend's dick than your own words. You'd rather drown in your own tears than the opinions from others. So you remain trapped in muteness. Silence is not always golden.
I'm gonna recite 2 poems, and because next year I'm going to California and for college, and I think the snow here will be the things that I would truly miss, because I really like the winter out here, and everything's kind of quiet and cold and beautiful in the winter. That's why I took a lot of pictures and sent it to Mrs. Clark for the picture Olympic. So the first poem is by Robert Frost, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. I'm trying to remember the words, and I try my best to make the right pronunciation. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods filled up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Thank you. And then I have a second one. So the past 3 years in Cushing here, it's been great for me, and I'm really grateful for what I've learned and the people that I meet here. So even though we might not see each other again in the future, or we will, but I'm really glad that I choose the road that I have taken right now. And I hope everyone can be courage enough to go on what they want in the future, and just to take the road even though it is the one that less traveled by. So, Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. 2 roads diverge in the yellow wood. I'm sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claims, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had won them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sign. Somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Good luck, everyone.
So I have 2 poems that I wrote, and they are both about my dad. I've never read them out loud, so I don't know if they're gonna be tears or whatnot, but I already feel them. I follow, but only the footsteps is the first one. I do not follow in your footsteps to make you proud. I follow in your footsteps to make myself happy, and I know that me being happy makes you proud. You may not be here, but I feel you here in my heart. You are with me every time I create a masterpiece. I feel your confidence every time I lose my own. You give me the strength to build it back up again. Your footsteps are what I look for when I become lost. Wherever I am, you seem to guide my path. My art is a dedication to you. You inspire me. Your artwork still lives on through me. You left your footsteps printed throughout art. You left a path of happiness for me to follow, and I follow it while leaving my footsteps printed right next to yours. So that's the first one. And the second one is Be There. He was always there for me. He knew how to be there for me and support me. He understood me. I would need holding, he would hold me. I needed a laugh, he would make it happen. I needed to cry, he would let me, but never left my side. He always knew before me. He always knew before me what kind of mood I was in when I stepped on the school bus. He already knew before I was able to say one word, just by the look on my face. He understood whose life it was, but knew when to have final say. He understood how my mind worked, but still gave me his thoughts on top of mine. He understood my reasons, but he always gave his own. He was there. He had always been there. He knew me and all my faults, and he was my stability and safeness.
Hello, so this is a poem that I wanted to read by Emily Dickinson, who Dr. Carey actually turned me on to, so thank you for that. I started early, took my dog and visited the sea. The mermaids in the basement came out to look at me, and frigates in the upper floor extended hempen hands, presuming me to be a mouse aground upon the sands. But no man moved me, till the tide went past my simple shoe, and past my apron, and past my belt, and past my bodice too, and made as he would eat me up, as wholly as a dew, upon a dandelion sleeve, and then I started too. And he followed me close behind. I felt his silver heel upon my ankle. Then my shoes would overflow with pearl, until we met the solid town. No one he seemed to know, and bowing with a mighty look at me, the sea withdrew. So I just really like the meaning of this poem, and I just wanted to thank Dr. Carey as well for this year of English. Very, very nice. Thank you.
This is not Kubla Khan. But this is for Dr. Carey.
Oh, we're not doing that, are we?
No.
Okay.
No, this is, Frost is one of my favorite poets. Yeats, W.B. Yeats is one of my favorite poets, and so is T.S. Eliot. And I do, David, I do love Emily Dickinson very much. None of these do I love as much as Henry David Thoreau, but, that's okay. But Yeats and Eliot are close behind. This is from a poem that T.S. Eliot wrote, a four-part poem called Four Quartets. And this is the conclusion of the first quartet. And I just knew that this is what I wanted to read tonight. Home is where one starts from. As we grow older, the world becomes stranger, the pattern more complicated of dead and living. Not the intense moment isolated with no before or after, but a lifetime burning in every moment, and not the lifetime of one man only, but of old stones that cannot be deciphered. There is a time for the evening under starlight, a time for the evening under lamplight, the evening with the photograph album. Love is most nearly itself when here and now cease to matter. Old men ought to be explorers. Here or there does not matter. We must be still and still moving into another intensity for a further union, a deeper communion through the dark cold and empty desolation. The wave cry, the wind cry, the vast waters of the petrel and the porpoise. In my end is my beginning.
The last poetry night, I read a piece by truly my favorite poet, Elizabeth Bishop. Maybe Adrienne Rich is my second favorite, and that's who this piece is by. I read this poem often, and every time that I read it, I think something new about it. But the most recent time I read it, which was today when I was thinking about what I was going to read tonight, I got myself thinking about what my sophomores are reading in their Lit and Comp 2 class, where I force them to say who the poet is writing in the voice of is the speaker, not, the poet. But I think Adrienne Rich is the speaker of this poem, and she's imagining where her readers will find her work at what different points in her, at what different points in their lives, and maybe more than once. It's called From an Atlas of the Difficult World. I know you are reading this poem late, before leaving your office, of the one intense yellow lamp spot and the darkening window, in the lassitude of a building faded to quiet long after rush hour. I know you are reading this poem standing up in a bookstore, far from the ocean, on a gray day of early spring. Faint flakes driven across the plain's enormous spaces around you. I know you are reading this poem in a room where too much has happened for you to bear, where the bedclothes lie in stagnant coils on the bed and the open valise speaks of flight, but you cannot leave yet. I know you are reading this poem as the underground train loses momentum and before running up the stairs toward a new kind of love your life has never allowed. I know you are reading this poem by the light of the television screen, where soundless images jerk and slide while you wait for the newscast from the Intifada. I know you are reading this poem in a waiting room of eyes met and unmeeting, of identity with strangers. I know you are reading this poem by fluorescent light, in the boredom and fatigue of the young who are count themselves out at too early an age. I know you are reading this poem through your failing sight, the thick lens enlarging these letters beyond all meaning, yet you read on, because even the alphabet is precious. I know you are reading this poem as you pace beside the stove warming milk, a crying child on your shoulder, a book in your hand because life is short and you too are thirsty. I know you are reading this poem which is not in your language, guessing at some words while others keep you reading, and I want to know which words they are. I know you are reading this poem listening for something, torn between bitterness and hope, turning back once again to the task you cannot refuse. I know you are reading this poem because there is nothing else left to read, there where you have landed, stripped as you are.
Okay, so today I was looking back on pictures from a couple of summers ago, and there was this one picture from this one night, and long story short, I ended up giving myself a tattoo that night. So this is a poem called Tattoo by Adia Hart. If you want to see the tattoo, it's right here, very poorly done. Tattoo. I pried out my own skin, wide open, with needles dipped in cheap India ink. I dabbed at the black mixed with red, staining my fingers. Do I do this for the pain, or to get the poison trickling to my skin to my veins? A symbol, an alphabet, vast meanings that I tried to bestow upon them hours later, really means nothing at all. There's this cause and effect which really goes both ways, the pain for the gain of the blurred out ink under my skin, and the gain for the pain of sharpness prickling. My ankles, both legs, bear the stain of alcohol tingled nights. The skin beneath my eyelids, a darkened haze, but the tattoo still burns, needle sharp against it all.
Hello. I was originally going to read something slightly different, but I found a poem that I liked a lot. It's by Pablo Neruda, who I liked for a while, but I was reminded of by Mr. Caswell last year. Um, so, might as well go ahead and read it. I'm sorry if I make any mistakes. It's called I'm Explaining a Few Things. You're gonna ask where are the lilacs and the poppy petal metaphysics and the rain repeatedly spattering its words and drilling them full of apertures and birds. I'll tell you the news. I live in a suburb of Madrid, with bells and clocks and trees. From there you could look out over Castile's dry face, my leather ocean. My house was called the House of Flowers, because in every cranny geraniums burst. It was the good-looking house with dogs and children. Remember, Raoul? Hey, Raphael, Federico, do you remember? From under the ground, my balconies in which the light of June drowned flowers in your mouth. Brother, my brother, everything. Loud with big voices, the salt of merchandises. Pile-ups of palpitating bread, the stalls of my suburbs and Arguelles with its statue. Like a drained inkwell, a swirl of a hake. Oiled flowers into spoons, a deep baying. Of feet and hands swelled into the streets, meters, liters, the sharp measure of life stacked up fish, the textures of roofs with the cold sun in which the weather was vain falters. The fine, frenzied ivory of potatoes, wave on wave of tomatoes rolling down the sea. And one morning, all that was burning. One morning, the bonfires leapt out the earth, devouring human beings, and from then on fire, gunpowder from then on, and from then on blood. Bandits with the plaint and Moors, bandits with finger rings and duchesses, bandits with black friars spattering blessings, came through the sky to kill children, and the blood of children ran through the streets without fuss, like children's blood. Jackals that the jackals would despise, stones that the dry thistle would bite on and spit out, vipers that the vipers would abominate. Face to face with you, I have seen the blood of Spain tower like a tide to drown you in one wave of pride and knives, treacherous. Generals, see my dead house. Look at broken Spain. From every house burning metal flows. Instead of flowers, from every socket of Spain, Spain emerges. And from every dead child with a rifle with eyes, and from every crime, bullets are born, which one day will find a bull's eye of your hearts. And you'll ask, why doesn't this poetry speak of dreams and leaves and the volcanoes of this native land? Come and see the blood in the streets. Come and see the blood in the streets. Come and see the blood in the streets.
Hi. So I don't really have a poem, but I do have a song that really means a lot to me. So it's sort of simple, but I really like it. It's from the musical Mac and Maple. So. Time heals everything. Tuesday, Thursday. Time heals everything. April, August. If I'm patient, the break will mend. And one fine morning, the hurt will end. So make the moments fly. Autumn, winter, I'll forget you by next year, some year. Though it's hell that I'm going through, some Tuesday, Thursday, April, August, autumn, winter, next year, some year. Time heals everything. Time heals everything. Sorry, I started too high. But loving you. Thank you.
Okay, so I have two. This one is called Theories About the Universe by Blythe Baird, I think. I am trying to see things in perspective. My dog wants a bite of my peanut butter chocolate chip bagel. I know she cannot have this because chocolate makes dogs very sick. My dog does not understand this. She pouts and wraps herself around my leg like a scarf and purrs and tries to convince me to give her just a tiny bit. When I do not give in, she eventually gives up and lays in the corner under the piano, drooping and sad. I hope the universe has my best interest in mind like I have my dog's. When I want something with my whole being and the universe withholds it from me, I hope the universe thinks to herself, silly girl, she thinks this is what she wants, but she does not understand how it will hurt. And then I have this one called A Pity We Were Such a Good Invention by Yehuda Amichai. They amputated your thighs off my hips. As far as I'm concerned, they are all surgeons, all of them. They dismantled us, each from the other. As far as I'm concerned, they are all engineers, all of them. A pity. You were such a good and loving invention. An aeroplane made from a man and wife, wings and everything. We hovered a little above the earth. We even flew a little. Thank you.
So this is a poem we read in English class last year, and it's about flowers and death, and I really liked it. Brave flowers that I could gallant it like you, and be as little vain. You come abroad and make a harmless show, and to your beds of earth again. You are not proud, you know your birth, for your embroidered garments are from earth. You do obey your months and times, but I would have it every spring. My fate would know no winter, and never die, nor think of such a thing. Oh, that I could my bed of earth but view, and smile and look as cheerfully as you. Oh, teach me how to see death and not fear, but rather to take truce. How often have I seen you at a bier, and there you look fresh and spruce. You fragrant flowers, then teach me, that my breath, like yours, may sweeten and perfume my death.
This is a poem I wrote. It's about my mother. She died about 15 years ago, and so you'll get it. It's called Knitting, which she did constantly. Face turned downward, her eyes focused without conscious thought on the work of her hands. She sits in my memory forever, silhouetted in the lamp's meager light. The light, as kind as light can be, reveals her worn face, the skin frail and sagging, hair made thinner, whiter by the lamplight's glow. Her hands work rhythmically as if given a life of their own. The needles clicking their endless song, love, 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 love. The clicking like the gears on an aging clock stretch back through the countless sweaters, scarves, mittens, the woolen chain of love entwined in every row, a record of the years given, the gifts whose worth we did not know. Was it spoken? Did we say enough? No need for words, the busy needles say. We know, we know, we know.
This is by a woman named Jane Kenyon. She was a poet. She died of cancer a number of years ago. Married to another poet, both of them New Hampshire poets. Married to Donald Hall. So two poets that you should study. This is called "Let Evening Come." Let the light of late afternoon shine through chinks in the barn, moving up the bales as the sun moves down. Let the cricket take up chafing as a woman takes up her needles and her yarn. Let evening come. Let dew collect on the hoe abandoned in long grass. Let the stars appear and the moon disclose her silver horn. Let the fox go back to its sandy den. Let the wind die down. Let the shed go black inside. Let evening come. To the bottle in the ditch, to the scoop in the oats, to the air in the lung, let evening come. Let it come as it will, and don't be afraid. God does not leave us comfortless, so let evening come.
I'm going to read a poem by Wisława Szymborska. If any of you know Polish, please correct me later. But, this is another poem in this sort of series of speaking of endings, and I think this is a happy ending, but maybe you'll be able to tell me more later. It's called Consolation. Darwin. They say he read novels to relax, but only certain kinds. Nothing that ended unhappily. If anything like that turned up, enraged, he flung the book into the fire. True or not, I'm ready to believe it. Scanning in his mind so many times and places, he's had enough of dying species, the triumphs of the strong over the weak, the endless struggles to survive, all doomed sooner or later. He'd earned the right to happy endings, at least in fiction, with its diminutions. Hence the indispensable silver lining. The lovers reunited, the families reconciled, the doubts dispelled, fidelity rewarded, fortunes regained, treasures uncovered, stiff-necked neighbors mending their ways, good names restored, greed daunted, old maids married off to worthy parsons, troublemakers banished to other hemispheres, forgers of documents tossed down the stairs, seducers scurrying to the altar, orphans sheltered, widows comforted, pride humbled, wounds healed over, prodigal sons summoned home, cups of sorrow thrown into the ocean, hankies drenched with tears of reconciliation, general merriment and celebration, and the dog Fido, gone astray in the first chapter, turns up barking gladly in the last.
I'm reading After the Winter by Claude McKay. Someday when trees have shed their leaves, and against the morning's white the shivering birds beneath the eaves have sheltered for the night, we will turn our faces southward, love, toward the summer isle, where bamboo spire and shafted grove and wide-mouthed orchid smile. And we will seek the quiet hill where towers the cotton tree, and leaps the laughing crystal rill, and works the droning bee. And we will build a cottage there, beside an open glade, with black-ribbed bluebells blowing near, and ferns that never fade. Thank you.
I'm going to read the Ring poem from the Lord of the Rings, and as much as I'm reluctant to do it, I'm going to do it in Gollum's voice, because he promised he would give me extra points on my next quiz. So, I'll just try my best. Let's see how that goes. Okay, I need to warm up. I might laugh in the middle of it, but I'll try my best. Okay, I can do this. Okay. 3 rings. Okay. I can do this. So fun. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in the Hall of Stone. 9 for mortal man doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all. 1 ring to find them. 1 ring to bring them all, and in darkness blind them. In the land of Mordor, where shadows lie. Oh my God.
So I figured I'd read a poem by Dr. Seuss called "Oh, the Places You'll Go," because like graduation's coming up and stuff, and it's a fun poem. So and I just did little like pieces of it because it's a long poem. But "Oh, the Places You'll Go" by Dr. Seuss. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who will decide where to go. You'll be on your way up, you'll be seeing great sights, you'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed, you'll pass the whole gang, and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best, wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say, but sadly it's true, and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on, you'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. No, that's not you. Somehow you'll escape, and all that waiting and staying, you'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains, so be your name Buxbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai, Alley, Von, Allen, O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way.
Hi, I'm going to read a poem I wrote last year, my freshman year. Okay. It's windy today, the warmest day of spring. I walked and I walked, waiting to find where I was. I thought maybe I could start again, though the clock closes. Maybe I could fit here, but she whispers, there's no interest for me. I stared at the acrylic, dripping down the strokes. 4 years, I have time. I try to be optimistic about longevity, less significantly about the placement of the owl's head. The painter knew, he always seems to know, but I told him it was just the heat.
Hi guys. I'm gonna read 2 poems. Both of them I wrote. This is the first one. It's called Before the Fall Comes. Let's skip studying for tomorrow's test and just blow off the math we procrastinated on. Let's sneak out after our parents fall asleep and come back at the break of dawn. Let's get iced coffee at 2 a.m. with reflective eyes and goosebumps through the plastic. Let's swing on the swings at the old playground despite being almost adults. Let's break the stereotypes. Let's be an oxymoron. Let's break all the rules and love every second. Let's just live before the fall comes. And this one I actually just wrote like 20 minutes ago. I literally went up to the day student room and I just wrote this because I had the idea and I didn't get it on paper yet, but I just went up and I wrote it. So bear with me. Reassuring, reinforcing, relieving. The best 4 years. Are my best 4 years standing among my peers, striving to hold my tears when forced to my biggest fears, feeling my heart smashed like a chandelier. Reciting, repeating, rehearsing, the same identical week, how to not be a freak and to avoid critique, for you wouldn't want to seek anything considered unique. Wishing, waiting, watching, it's all a simple game, rolling dice, praying to be the same, ignoring the burning flame, when only yourself is to blame for squeezing to fit into someone else's frame instead of breaking free. Thank you.
Hi. This is a poem called Primetime Loving, and it's a love story about numbers. I didn't write it. It's by Johnny Baker, and it's kind of a long one, so bear with me. 59 wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, realizes all his hair is on one side of his head, takes just under a minute to work out it's because of the way he slept, finds some clothes and gets dressed. He can't help but look in the mirror and be suddenly impressed how he looks rough around the edges, yet casually messed. As he glances out the window, sees the sight that he is blessed with of 60 from across the street. Now 60 was beautiful, with perfectly trimmed cuticles, dressed in something suitable, never rude or crude at all, unimprovable, right on time as usual, more on cue than a snooker ball, and liked to play it super cool. 59 wanted to tell her that he knew her favorite flower. He thought of her every second, every minute, every hour. But he knew it wouldn't work. He'd never get the girl, because although she lived across the street, they came from different worlds. While 59 admired 60's perfectly round figure, 60 thought 59 was odd. One of his favorite films was 101 Dalmatians. 60, of course, preferred the sequel. While he romanticized the idea that they were star-crossed lovers, they could go against the odds and evens because they had each other. She maintained the views imposed upon by her mother that separate could not be equal. Even with rose-tinted eyes, 59 could realize the reason why 60 would never love him. He had picked up on the vibes that's because he was 59, 60 felt like she was above him. And though at the time he felt stupid and dumb for trying to love a girl controlled by her stupid mom, he should have been comforted by the simple sum: take 59 away from 60, and you're left with 1. Sure enough, it took him 2 months of moping around, but 61 days later, 61 is who he found. His next-door neighbor, he went round to her house because he had lost his keys again and his parents were out. As he noticed the slightly wonky numbers on the door, he wondered why he'd never introduced himself before. As she politely let him in, his jaw dropped in awe. 61 was like 60, but a little bit more. She had prettier eyes and an approachable smile, and like him, rough around the edges, casual style, and like him, everything was in disorganized piles, and like him, her mom didn't care if friends stayed for a while, because she was like him, and he liked her. He reckoned she would like him if she knew he was like her. It was different this time. The feelings felt proper. So he plucked up the courage and asked for her number. She laughed. I'm 61. He grinned. I'm 59. And today I've had a really nice time, so tomorrow if you wanted to come over to mine, she said yes. I loved talking to people who are just as quirky, so she agreed to this unofficial first date. In the end, he was only ready 1 minute early, but it didn't matter because she arrived 1 minute late. From that moment on, there was nonstop chatter, how they loved X Factor, how they had 2 factors, how it didn't matter. Distinctiveness made them better. By the end of the night, they knew they were meant together. He explained, you're 61, I'm 59, rotated round upside down, that's 19 and 65, the age that one might get a job until the day that they retire. Of course it will work out because we've got the world to be inspired. She laughed at him. Now one day she was talking about stuck up 60. She noticed that 59 looked a little bit shifty. He blushed, told her of his crush, the best thing that never happened because it led to us. 61 was clever, see, not prone to jealousy, looked him in the eye and told him quite tenderly, you're 59, I'm 61. Together we combine to become twice as much of 60 would ever be. At this point, 59 had tears in his eyes, was so glad to have this one-of-a-kind girl in his life. He told her the very definition of being prime was that only one in himself could his heart divide, and she was the one he felt he could give his heart to. She knew she felt the same, and now she knew the films were half true, because this was better than that. This love was just a sample, because when it came to real love, they were a prime example. Thank you.
This poem is called Side Effects of Falling in Love. I've been told that Tiger Balm helps with stuffy noses, so I rubbed some on my chest to get rid of the heaviness I felt in my heart. Listening to pop songs may have helped to drown out the silence, but it didn't help me put my mind at ease, because every time the artist paused to fill his lungs with air, I thought of the way you exhaled strings of words and sent them to my veins. The body needs oxygen to survive, but all I ever needed was you. One morning when the sky was as foggy as your emotions, I painted my nails the color of a faded pink tutu. Supposedly, it dries in 60 seconds. I said to myself that my feelings for you would dry up in 60 seconds. Both were lies. I could see the fingerprints on my nails and the footprints on my love after you trampled over it. They say that love is pain. If I had to describe love, it would be a little girl compressing a rose petal in between hundreds of pages of an old dictionary, waiting for it to dry up and become flaky and too delicate for the human touch. And she would ask bashfully, isn't it prettier this way? Isn't it pitiful this way? Isn't that what love really is? Thank you.
So even though I'm not a Dr. Carey's student and I'm not at all a hobby or Moby Dick kind of fan things, it's, yeah. But I know you're a great teacher because I talked with a lot of my friends. They said you're such an influential teacher on them. And also, I read the newspaper who Tony wrote about you, the interview. I know he cut off a lot of inappropriate things, but so far, you just seem such an interesting person with a lot of cool experience and funny things. So when you retire, I hope life will treat you well, and you can, if I remember, you said you want to go to China.
Yeah.
Do you want to learn Chinese or something?
Yeah.
And you want to read the Moby Dick marathon reading in
Yes.
the Whale Museum.
Yeah.
And I hope your dream come true and fill your arms with a lot of cool tattoos and drive your motorcycle somewhere and find the best winter place on earth to live.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So you said you want to visit China, so I decided maybe read a Mandarin poem. So the poem is very popular in China, and it basically talking about how to live life fully with thoughtfulness, tenderness, and appreciation. That's basically it. And if you want detail, I can email you English version, but it's very bad. And you don't want to know either, I think. And also probably learn Chinese. It's a very powerful language. So here it is. 面朝大海，春暖花开。从明天起，做一个幸福的人，喂马，劈柴，周游世界。从明天起，关心粮食和蔬菜。我有一所房子，面朝大海，春暖花开。从明天起，和每一个亲人通信，告诉他们我的幸福。那幸福的闪电告诉我的，我将告诉每一个人。给每一条河，每一座山取一个温暖的名字。陌生人，我也为你祝福。愿你有一个灿烂的前程，愿你有情人终成眷属，愿你在城市获得幸福。我只愿面朝大海，春暖花开。
I have this poem handy because I emailed it to Breton for the literary magazine that she's working on. Oh, man. Which everybody else should, too. She should tell you her email address later. This is a poem that I wrote about my best friend who I met at Bates in college. It's called Nautica Blue on Calvin Klein. I promise this isn't a love poem. It's just one I wrote one of those nights when only your arms prevented my collapse. Because, honey, you can bear what annihilates me. My point of destruction is just the beginning of your challenge. And the night your arms kept me from collapsing was also the night you spritzed cologne in your hair, leaving destruction behind and beginning your challenge, looking for a different kind of love. The cologne spritzed in your hair, trimmed short. You selected a blue shirt to set your indigo eyes aglow. Even though you were looking for a different kind of love, at the end of the night, that cologne lingered only on my fingertips. We didn't want to see how the disappointment put out the indigo glow. You wore corduroys to impress some guy, all in vain. At the end of the night, it was only my fingers running through your hair, and as we grasped our way home, my hand found a home in yours. Forget about what corduroys to wear, and throw away the blue shirt. Because, honey, if you can endure my annihilation, then what matters is I found a home in you. Some other night, we'll figure out how to write a love poem.
Okay, so this is a poem by one of my favorite authors, Lewis Carroll. It's probably his most famous one, and it's in the book Through the Looking Glass, and it's The Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy where the burrow grows, and mome wraths outgrabe. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub-jub bird, and shun the frimious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the maxim foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tugly wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade would snicker snack. He left it dead, and with his head, he went galumping back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh Callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy tobes did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the burrow grobes, and the mome's wrath outgrave. Thank you.
I actually just found a picture of a poem my mom sent me that my dad's best friend wrote for their going away party when they moved from. He actually just texted me. Wow. That was really random. But he wrote this when they were moving to the suburbs from New York City. So, the Ballad of Anne and Chris. Her name was Anne of the West Side. Chris was hired to clean out her townhouse. She snagged him up quick and then had a kid. He's never been quite the same since. His sperm was strong and swam swiftly for a man way up in his 50s. The strangers say, what a nice granddaughter, but I'm her father, you stupid old goat. We all cringed when he said $250. You're nuts, you're crazy, it ain't pretty. It turns out we're wrong. Now I'm singing this song as he laughs all the way to the bank. Oh, lee, lie, lee, lie, lee, lie, la, lee, lie, lee, lie, lee, lie. She snagged him up quick and then had a kid. He's never been quite the same since. I'll miss this house and the parties, great food, cold brew, and live music. Greenpoint won't be the same, the neighbors are saying, hallelujah, peace and quiet once again. They moved way out to Connecticut, to the woods, the boonies, the effin' suburbs. In no time at all, he'll be bored and he'll drool, an incoherent, bumbling fool. Oh, lie-lee, 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 la, lie-lee, lie-lee, lie-lee. In no time at all, he'll be bored and he'll drool, an incoherently bumbling fool.
This one's really, really difficult to say, but I'm going to try. It is by, it doesn't say, but it's not by me. And it's called Interview for a Boyfriend. Interview for a boyfriend. Your middle name? How long has it been since you wore a diaper? How old were you when you first noticed you had feet? How tall lying down? A glowing thing or a burning dark? Quick, pick one. How many needles will fit between my eyelids? How big was your first? Your last? The last light switch. Do I flick it? Can you handle candles? What's it like to wear no skirt? How many bras have you sniffed? Define addiction. Define a lover's hip. How many languages are enough? How can you free yourself without getting committed? And what's it like inside yourself? And I see your feet are like freaky small and your hair smells like flies and like fish's eyes. And you have 3 nostrils and that your eyelashes are made from spider legs and they move by themselves when you're angry or turned on. Can you believe me when I say your scent seems beautiful? Did I stutter? Did I stutter? I don't know. Did I? How many lines ago was that? Can you count the orange sticks in the fridge, honey, and know that I'll always want more? What do you see from eyes so blue? Can you tell that mine are glass? Can you tell that they aren't windows? Can you quantify exactly more or less what you'd like my eyes to be? Also, you have grass eyebrows and 1, 2, too many tails, and your tendons are made of Twizzlers, and you only drink Windex orange blue orange juice, and your hands are made of pancakes with lifelines, and your belly button has an eyeball in it, but we're not supposed to ask whose. And your earlobes have lips, and sometimes they whisper sweet nothings to the pigeons on the park benches, while you stroke your fingertips across various things, like pigeons. Like me? Well, I broke up with my boyfriend and then spent the night, and my roommate's mom thinks we just need more hangers, and I start all my sentences with, oh, well, look. And I ran through my apartment, counted all my pairs of tights, and I noticed not a single tear looked like him. And I heard the song that he reminds me of, and it was birds screaming their earth back awake, so I drank a whole bottle of V8 and went to sleep. And I broke up with that boyfriend and then spent the night. And my roommate's convinced that I can just go back tomorrow. And I dropped my sister's black vintage gloves in the mud. I dropped my physics class and told everyone I'm a pyro. And I'm still not quite done with that last guy I spent the night with. And I'll never be as high with anyone else as I was with Dell, but I didn't call him Dell when we were together. And I never understood people when they said they could remember a touch until I felt his thick palms for days after he left. And when he said he wasn't coming, I ate a strawberry and tasted nothing. And I haven't eaten fruit since. And I haven't made sense 10 days before he left. Now I'm way past track of who left last. Now I wear lipstick with a disclaimer. When I dropped him, I shattered. Translation, no man's pleased me since. But I'd like to see you try. So, your last name? Do you have any pets? Can you be with a woman you'll never be able to please? Thank you.
Two poems, and one of them I wrote down, and the other one I don't have any room for, so I brought my computer. Both of them are poems I think that like everyone can relate to, being at this school, because there's lots of people and you can't really hide. So my first one is about just like two people. A horde of dumb teenagers takes its axes to our driveway, spitting up. Oh, I wrote them both, by the way. All right, I'm gonna restart. A horde of dumb teenagers takes its axes to our driveway, spitting up gravel with the pressure of two. We're trapped in a room built for another language, peeling wood and dampened carpet, lifted sills and purple chairs. These walls whisper about us. I won't give in, but I feel like a fox. The hunters want me to breed and later trot into snarls. I cower in the old leaves, sometimes, gravel finding me again between my eyes. A gun pointed at my beautiful tail, cocked with the pressure of two. Painted faces and boys with no philosophy. They smirk and never stop talking. They just kill their diaphragms with pressure, then smother me with the pressure of two. Relieve me, don't give in, don't hear the dead foxes. Help me shovel this gravel back to its hole. Lean on the iron with the legs you're so proud of, and take a crowbar to the overheated windows. Lie on the floor next to me, run your fingers in my hair, let it be silent. Look into my eyes and don't expect me to move. That's all I want. And then, for the next moment, I'll let the deafening music drown out the pressure of two. My next one is more or less about just friendship. She cried in the corner because some things just don't feel like they should. Soon there are three of us drifting over, and all four shivering bodies circle around a pile of dark chocolate and listen to each other. How wonderful that four souls can take those little grays, release them into the air, and zap them with our laughter. I laid on a table next to her, listening to her fingers type, a slow and whispery song flowing from her phone, close to my ear, conversation in the background. I think the sun is what we need. Lilacs are what we need. Relinquish the depth, the weight of February.
Okay, so this is something I wrote for English class in the fall. To a foreigner, the briny tang might have been overwhelming, but to me, it smells like home. I ingest the familiar aroma, and I calm instantly. I rub my toes in the grainy, sun-kissed ground beneath me. My footprints disappear into the swarm of its doppelgangers. The swooshes and crashes of her beating the ground beside me take over my body. The sound is powerful, and the chatter of people around me do not compare to it. The ring of the ice cream cart's bell, which was once sharp and distinct, is now lost in the mix of noises. The skyscrapers, which shoot up at odd places from the ground, with their bright green roofs and brown bases, are a vital source of protection from the intense heat of the sun. The massive blue, glistening in the sun, is where my focus is. Blue stretches for as far as I can see, and it is breathtaking. The inward curve of the land allows me to feel safe. This place is my haven.
Hello. I'm thinking of singing something. Originally, I thought about singing the song for Coffee House, but a few days ago, I started questioning whether this wouldn't be a better forum for it. I've only sang it once out loud, and so I'm sorry if you're forced to listen to something that isn't pleasing. But yeah, here I go. And it's gonna be a bit of bridge. Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich, and your ma is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. You spread your wings and you take to the sky. Till that morning, there ain't nothing can harm you. With daddy and mommy standing by. Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich and your ma is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. There you go.
Again, thanks to all of you who shared. It's amazing to me how at some point during this, it becomes kind of magical for me. I don't know exactly what or when or how it happens, but thank you all for standing up here and making for such a beautiful evening for all of us. And give yourselves a hand.